Hey guys and gals, I'm Aloy, and this is my build guide for Ramaladni's Whirlwind Barbarian for the upcoming Avatar of Zero update. We're gonna be covering this build in different parts, for which you can find timestamps below. Without further ado, let's start with the pros and cons, so you know if this build is right for you. On the pro sides, we got its tankiness, its speed, its fluidity and ease of use, making it a formidable dungeon clearer. On the cons, we got its lack of one-shot potential on bosses compared to other alternatives like Autumn, and then dependence on really good rolls of both cooldown reduction and fury cost reduction, as these stats are literally the lifeblood of this build. Onto general gameplay. One of the strong points of Whirlwind over any other skill is the fact that you can always be on the move, while still doing damage, thus make sure to use this to your advantage. While we do have a lot of damage reduction, the best way to mitigate damage is to avoid it altogether, so see that you are always dodging and weaving any potential damage. Doing circles around your opponents is all nice and good, but don't restrict yourself to this pattern and be creative with it. Do squares, triangles, double backs, a pentagram to summon Lilith, zigzags, up to you. Most of the times you don't even need to stack aspect of the expectant to kill enemies. Try and always be moving if you are in somewhat dangerous situations. It is not worth stacking it if you're surrounded by bloodthirsty enemies and end up just dying. Just spin and win. Survivability is also the key. In case you find yourself in a especially difficult situation, there's no shame on doing a tactical retreat while your shots are down. Lastly, you should try and always play around your sanguine circle, the vampiric power bathed in blood, whenever it's possible, as it is a massive amount of damage and damage reduction. With that in mind, be considerative of where you start spinning, as that will be when your pull is dropped down. With that out of the way, let's look at our gear and aspects. Starting with our weapons, we want to find an item power 900 plus Ramaladni's with a 0.4% roll on it with a good amount of maximum fury, as the other stats are not that important. For the other weapons, we want the following stats: strength, all stats, damage while berserking because of the blood rage node we're gonna get on the Paragon tree, and damage to close enemies, as it is the most damage you can get from an additive damage effects on our weapons. For the weapons themselves, we want a one-handed mace to complement Ramaladni's and allow us to take the passive node Wallop, with the aspect of the expectant, a two-handed mace with the aspect of Dire Whirlwind, and a two-handed sword with aspect of Limitless Rage. For the jewels, we'll be using emeralds, as we crit most of the time with our attacks. For our jewelry, we want at least 890 item power pieces, as that is the minimum item power to roll max resistances. For the rings, we want implicits that cover an elemental resistance that is not cold with matching jewels, as cold will be covered on the Paragon board. A stat priority of critical chance, damage while berserking, maximum fury, and maximum life. And the shout's aspects, echoing fury and bolt shifting. For the amulet, we want to socket it with a diamond jewel, have a stat priority of cooldown reduction, fury cost reduction. Remember to prioritize max rolls on those stats, movement speed and ranks to all passive, and use the Edgemaster aspect. For our armor, starting with our chest and pants, we want full damage reduction on both, with Relentless Berserker aspect on the chest and aspect of might on the pants. For our gloves, we want ranks to Whirlwind, critical chance, strength and all stats, coupled with the aspect of Berserk Reaping, so we can always have our enemies bleeding. On our helmet, we are going to be looking for cooldown reduction, damage while berserking, maximum fury and maximum life, with aspect of Iron Blood. And finally for our boots, we want fury cost reduction, movement speed and 2 elemental resistance, the 2 we didn't have on our rings besides cold, with the Ghost Walker aspect. As for the jewels, we just use sapphires all around. You might have noticed a complete lack of armor on our build. That's intended, as besides the fact Whirlwind does not struggle much with physical hits, since we tend to avoid most of them, the requirement for level 180 mobs, or whatever they end up being, will likely be around 16,000 armor, which we would not be able to reach without major sacrifices. Going this route, we will be much stronger against elemental damage, which tends to be the only thing that can enhance this build, without compromising too much on the physical mitigation, as the extra damage reduction covers a good part of what we would be able to get in case we went to after armor, while also benefiting our elemental mitigation. Now, as for other uniques, Tivalt's Will is a good option if you want to get more damage, while Tuskhelm I would not recommend, as it most of the times will screw with our shouts uptime and be super inconsistent on bosses, which is where this build can struggle the most. For Ubers, Shaco is a really good one, as, besides its effects, this build likes all the stats it provides, and is a simple swap of the Elm, no extra fuss. We also love Grandfather, as we have almost 100% crit uptime. To incorporate it onto our build, we'll need to drop Aspect of the Expectant, swap Edgemaster to the one-handed mace, and Limitless Rage to the amulet. Now, going on to this season mechanic, the Vampiric Powers. We run, as our core powers, a combination of Prey of the Weak and the Cursed Touch for vulnerability uptime. The latter also gives us a good and satisfying burst when we use a defensive shout near a pack of elites. Bathe in Blood for its major damage and defensive boost, and Sanguine Brace to help with any gaps on our Fortify uptime, and mainly for the 80% increased critical chance well above 50 Fortify. For the last slot, we can default to Hemomancy, and seamlessly swap it between it and Resilience, in case we are in need of an extra beefiness. Lastly, but certainly not least, our Glyphs and Paragon board. We take a total of 4 extra boards, 1 legendary node and 5 Glyphs, Martial, Ire, Exploit, Ambidextrous, and the new Avatar of Zir Glyph, Tears of Blood, with the following leveling priorities. As for the Paragon board, be sure to check the links down below for it and the skill tree. Since I'm not sure if the new glyph considers all stats a score or only your main stat, I have a backup Paragon board with slight changes to accommodate that, which I'll deploy as soon as the update comes out if needed. If you want to keep up with that or anything regarding this build, make sure to follow me here on YouTube and on my post on the Sanctuary Discord, which will be linked down below, to keep your build up to date. Now, before we part ways, let me know how you feel about this build down below or on my Discord post, and see you next time.
I'm not ready yet.